Coming up on the dirty side of the track this week.
Something gets Brian all riled up.
I don't want to be the guy who just piles on, but that is the ugliest friggin' car I've ever seen in my life.
And Rob tries really hard not to get riled up.
Do we have to talk about this one? Because I will get angry for the rest of the podcast. Go on, do it.
You get to do it.
I'm holding tight.
Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian, that's Rob. I don't know if you guys heard, but we were in Canada last week. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm still, I don't know, riding the wave of endorphins, I think, after last week. It feels like only yesterday that we recorded, which I guess because it was Monday, it feels shorter, and we're recording today on a Friday. But yeah, I've just been smiling all week. I've been showing anybody that I know doesn't even care about F1, just showing the picture of us in the Cadillac garage that we got from Paul and going, look at this. They're like, where's that? I'm like, doesn't matter. It's amazing.
I showed it to a couple people as well already. Yeah.
Right. So, yes, we were in Canada last week. We recorded on the Monday as soon as we dragged ourselves back from the track. And in pretty much traditional style, we managed to miss a huge chunk of stuff out that actually happened. So this week's episode will be some news and social, because there is some news to cover. Ryan's found some stuff and stashed it in the video vault for us to take a look at there. We then have a special video edition of Cadillac Corner. And then we will have Clean Up on Isle Canada, where we will go over things that we missed from last week, and maybe some of the stuff that's happened since we've been back and seen some of the reaction to kind of our little mini adventure. And then we will round it out with a preview of Monaco, because that's where the F1 circus heads next.
Can't wait for Monaco, my favorite Saturday of the calendar.
And I'm going to put a pin in my small amount of optimism as well. But
for Sunday?
Do you have, for Sunday, do you have the rumor mill sound effect ready to go? Because I think we need to fire up the chopper and hover a live report from above the rumor mill.
Let's jump in.
There we are. Take this baby up above the rumor mill. Okay. This weekend, an absolute, first off, very concerning rumor started to gain momentum, which after I then kind of allowed common sense to kick in, I was kind of like, no, it can't be. And then thankfully today, we're recording on Friday, a couple of hours ago, Team Principal has come out and shot it down. And we were getting asked about it because we are the official podcast of Valtteri Bottas, being as we've had him on this pod, I believe. We were getting asked the questions, do you know anything about this? And the this I'm referring to is Valtteri is at imminent threat of losing his seat, and that Colton Herta is being lined up to take his seat if he doesn't improve his performance in Monaco. And I looked at this and I was like, what? What? And then, like I said, I started to calm down and look at this. All these kind of clickbait sites were coming out with this. All these things. Oh, yeah, Colton Herta was spotted deep in conversations with Loudon at the weekend. And I was like, of course he was. F2 were driving there, and he is their driver. Is this
right.
What we're basing this on?
I mean, F2 was in Canada, and that's where the main team was. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of was like, yeah, it was sort of gaining a little bit of momentum, but not that much. And people were coming on the Discord and saying, do you guys know anything? We need to hear something from Pit Lane Paul. I was like, it can't be. It just can't be. Like, you're a brand new team.
Right.
And what you really need is experienced drivers to get you up and running so that next year you could be competitive, or maybe the year after you can be competitive. You can't go and grab a rookie that's never been in F1 and go, here you go, help us develop the team. I mean...
Right. Who doesn't have a super license, who hasn't lit F2 on fire.
Yeah. But is American, so I think I think that's doing a lot of heavy lifting in this rumor, is that people that maybe didn't know that he's in F2 and he was spotted have gone, and he's American, and they're an American team, and it would be the dream to have an American driver in an American team, and they put all these kind of murderboard strings together and gone, that's it, Valtteri's out. Anyway.
Yeah, let's just, I mean, has Valtteri been great the last couple races? No. Has Checo? No. The car isn't good. So, like, I don't understand what people expect. Points? And like you say, it's been fairly even in the team in terms of the drivers' performances. So why he? Yes, Valtteri was a few laps down at the Canadian race. That's the reason. I
Checo
go.
didn't finish.
I know. I mean,
So,
yeah, I
so
didn't.
anyway, then Graham Loudon was kind of planetf1.com spoke to him, and he was asked for, as amongst other things, was kind of asked for a response to the rumor. And I love this. I love this because there is no grey area where you're kind of looking into his words and going, "Oh, really? Maybe Valtteri is at risk here." It says, "Can you respond to the speculation about what Cadillac is trying to achieve?" He said, "Yes, that's very easy to do. There is no foundation of truth in any of the rumors. I can categorically just say that," and then kind of stop. Went just where do I start on the rumors? It's like I can make it really, really, really clear factually they're completely incorrect. There is no basis of truth whatsoever in any of them. Secondly, if we look at the job that both drivers are doing in Valtteri and Checo, they're doing way more than any other driver on the grid or any other teams are having to do because we're constructing a team at the same time we're trying to race them, which is a very unusual task. So I'm going to file that in top down rumor.
Thank God we got out of the chopper because the chopper crashed. That rumor did not last. Okay, so there was some other news, and this week the vault. I somehow restocked the vault with some fresh videos on short notice. And some of them escaped into other areas of the podcast this week. And this is one of them. But this one requires a lot of news this week that I put a W, a T, and an F on. And this was the first one. The Ferrari Luce. We got into this on the Discord. Everybody seemed to agree with me. I don't want to be the guy who just piles on. But that is the ugliest friggin' car I've ever seen in my life. And it's from Ferrari. And it's electric. And it's gross.
I'm not sure it's the ugliest car I've seen in my life. It's the ugliest Ferrari I've seen in my life. I mean, there's a Fiat that would want to have a word with you if you think that's
the Pontiac Aztec. If we have to go find the Pontiac Aztecs of the world to compare it to a Ferrari Luce for $600,000 that's running on Italian batteries. Are you kidding me?
I would call it the Ferrari Puke, because it's just like I've taken an abomination and slapped a Ferrari badge on it and gone, there you go, it's a Ferrari. I'm like, I was that guy that I didn't like it when Porsche came out with their range of SUVs because to me a Porsche is a two-seater sports car and shouldn't be an SUV. But I kind of made peace with the fact that somebody in an SUV factory somewhere has gone, why don't we slap a Porsche badge on this and people will love it? That at least the Cayenne looks like a decent car. This, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I was joking on Discord that it's actually that Ferrari don't want to have an electric vehicle. They want the loud roar of combustion engines. So their entry into the electric space is to make an absolute disaster that nobody wants to buy. So they're all clamoring for the combustion engine Ferraris. That's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, there was a point in time where large manufacturers had to have a certain mileage standard. So, like Aston Martin created that Signet thing, the little smart car rebadged, and then they could get their mileage average over whatever they needed. But that's not this. This is just terrible. I remember, I'm trying not to get too worked up. I remember when the California came out, like in 08, 09, 2009, the Ferrari California. And everyone goes, oh, God, what is this? It's their entry-level car, and it's the first mid-engine something. Like there was they'd done turbos before. It was like the first mid-engine four-wheel drive. Was it four? I don't remember. But everyone was up in arms. That aged great. Like I see a California out there, I'm like, oh, yeah, look at Ferrari. It's a Ferrari. It looks like a mouse. Like a for your computer, and you should turn it over and charge it. It's okay. Anyway,
what this reminded me of before we move on is that it's as much of a Ferrari as your Hot Wheels McLaren is a Formula One car compared to your Hot Wheels Premium. When you sent me that picture of the two of them alongside each other, I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. One of these pictures is not like the other.
Exactly. And so moving on from Ferrari, but there was a video. Charles and Lewis drove the Luce. And in the comments were brutal. And like they said, what's more bold, making a car this ugly or leaving the comments open on the launch video? And the comments were brutal. And everybody basically said Oscar-winning performances for Hamilton and Leclerc because they seemed to act like they liked it. Although they kind of had that like witness like the hostage face, like, everything's going great. Anyway, moving on with more WTF. Gucci is creating Gucci Racing, and they are now the title partner sponsor for Alpine starting next year. A business and experiential platform at the intersection of luxury and sport. I just threw up in my mouth.
Did you?
Read that. Does
What?
that make any
What? Yeah, no,
sense?
no, but
It's
what's
word
your
salad.
aversion to? Yeah, it might be, but what? Why about kind of?
Well, I have no problem with Gucci, but I mean, business and experiential platform at the intersection of
It's,
luxury and sport.
it's what they all have to say. They've all got marketing departments that swallowed a thesaurus, but I think they might give us some good livers. I mean, at the end of the day, Benetton was or is a fashion house, right? And they gave us a
But
fantastic car, but.
normal people shop at Benetton.
Yeah, but F1's not exactly a sport for normal people, is it? In terms of what, like, half the stuff that's so.
I
I got
guess
no problem with this, and they might give us some
Gucci
absolute
Racing.
rocking. Yeah, when we might
What?
get look at the livery that I could see here that gets me so excited is that this could be a black and gold. This could be a
Yeah, a
JPS.
John Player special situation. All right, fine.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and this one was making
Oh,
waves on the
do we have to
Discord.
talk about this one? Because I will get angry for the rest of the
Oh,
podcast. Go on,
then
do it.
you get to do
I'll
it.
hold in tight.
When then WTF, the FIA president Mohammed bin Sulayem is proposing a removal of term limits for the position as head of motorsport's governing body. This would enable him to continue beyond the 12-year limit that currently exists and continue serving as FIA president. WTF is going on around here.
And it just adds on top of, like, somebody said, "Oh, he changed the rules so that nobody could stand against him," and that's not factually correct. I didn't
Not
look
factually
into this,
correct.
but what I remember is that he changed the voting proposal structure so that you had to get, I think, a backing from each of the regions of
Yes.
the FIA, but has somebody in, I don't know, whichever continent, maybe it was Africa, I'm not sure, but one of the FIA governing bodies, he basically has a lieutenant in, which is never ever going to let anybody go against him. So by having one lockdown, it essentially means he changed the structure so that nobody can ever really stand against him. But
If you have to make the rules shift in your favor to stay in power, you're doing it wrong.
yeah,
That really annoyed me when I saw it. So
so
anyway,
let's
yeah.
put that in the rear view mirror and open up the video vault, shall we?
let's open the video vault on a smilier, happier section of the pod. All that is bad. I mean, the rumors about Valtteri are bad. They're fake and bad. And then anyway. All right. So there were some excellent videos this week. As always, Lollipop Man and Maddie P1's best reaction videos are must watch. Have them subscribed to your YouTubes. It is good. Okay. Third step of the podium. Jack Whitehall and Emily Hampshire surprise Kimi Antonelli in Montreal on the Marriott Bonvoy channel. 3 minutes. It was so boring, I'd rather talk about the fact that I'm 1 year away from lifetime platinum status at Marriott. I have 9 years platinum and 530 nights or something, so I'll make it pretty soon. And then, or 630, whatever you need, I'm getting close.
Question for you on this, and
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask it for a few weeks since you've been running your podium.
Yeah.
Quite often, the third step of the podium, last week was the same, this week is now. The third step is like, meh, rubbish, don't watch. What else are you sifting through that doesn't even make it onto the podium is what I want to know. Because I'm sure you've watched more than 3 videos, right?
I do the work that, people don't appreciate. On the second step, Lando Norris tries food from every country he's raced on the Quadrant channel. This is 12 minutes. This is not bad. The problem was the execution of the video went south. So Lando was great. He had a cook on there. I will refuse to call this guy a chef. And he was cooking up food from all of these places, all of these countries that Lando's raced. And they did a 1 to 10, and Lando had to spot him immediately and then not move. But the problem became he didn't like the way the food was cooked. So it was a matter of the preparation of the food, less about the food itself. And I'm like, could we just rank in theory what the best burger you've had is, or the best, chicken parmesan or whatever it was from Italy? I forgot. The point is, it became a video about the cook's ability to make food that Lando liked. I will say, for those of us who have been social media nerds for a while, and especially on the YouTubes, when Carlando was a thing, especially in their heyday at McLaren, Lando had the appetite of a 7-year-old. And he has come a long way. So I got to give him credit for that. And then finally, the top step. Isaac Hadjar and Pierre Gasly become Cirque du Soleil performers for the day on the Sky Sports F1 channel. This was good. This was fun. It's only 5 minutes. It's worth your time. They basically go, I think, now I could be wrong on this based on what I saw, but I think, Rob, remember when we kept crossing that bridge on the north end of the island?
Yeah.
And I kept pointing out the Ferris wheels and roller coasters.
Yeah.
I think this was there because it was a
Okay.
big tent in an open area with a roller coaster behind it. I'm like, well, it's pretty close.
Probably.
But so anyway, they did loosely some Cirque du Soleil type items. And I say loosely like they had them for about a minute on a bar hanging by their knees with a big mat underneath. They didn't take them up and do a trapeze situation. But they did a few
Shocking.
other things. And Isaac is really good at juggling. Check it out. And with that, we're closing the vault. All right. Is it time for the corner?
It is. I'm thinking back to sitting in Cadillac Corner right now. But go on.
The best part still, and I know we said this last week, the best part still was when you pointed to the corner that we were standing. Oh, that's Cadillac Corner, and you were 100% right.
It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner.
All right.
Quick shout out to Lee on the Discord for taking the picture of us in Cadillac Corner and photoshopping a Cadillac Corner logo behind
downloaded
us.
that.
Was. Oh, did you? Yeah,
Downloaded it early this morning.
that was sweet. Cheers, Lee.
That was sweet. Like I said, the video vault was open too long, and people came and stole some of my videos and moved them around. Inside Cadillac F1's garage during the race weekend, or garage, on
Garage,
General Motors and Cadillac channels, 9 minutes, 30 seconds. This was released this week, and I said, oh, is this going to be from Canada? Are we going to be in it? And I turn it on, and it's Miami. And so I'm like, drat. Rubbish. And so I watched it. It was great. Paul features in this one as the person who plays the MC of the video starts touching Valtteri's helmet and stuff, and Paul yells at him, like, hey, mate. And
Sorry, childish in me.
Yeah, come on.
Move on.
Get out of the gutter. And the second video, behind the scenes of the Canadian Grand Prix 2026 Cadillac Formula One Team Cadillac channel, 4 minutes. If you were wondering, hey, I saw that video and I think I saw Brian in it, you're correct. You did. Now, I'm assuming you paused it at exactly 1 minute and 42 seconds and zoomed in
Yes,
to
it's
a guy in the background in the center. But it is definitely me.
You originally said 1 minute 38, and I was stopped on 1 minute 38, and I was zooming everywhere, and I was like, I was there. I know where we were sat. Brian is nowhere. And then you said, no, you got to let it play. I'm like, oh, so actually I've got to stop it 4 seconds later than you told me. And you were like, yeah. Now, Brian is there 100%. My shoulder and half of my head is there, so you would never recognize me. But I will say, you need a big screen, you need high resolution, you need to pause it, and you need to be good at playing Where's Wally or Where's Waldo, whatever country you come from. And he is there. That's all I'll say. It's proof. I will say the picture of us in the Cadillac garage is more proof than this video is.
That's correct. But if anyone needs an autograph from seeing me in the video at 1 minute and 42 seconds for a grand total of a millisecond, send your boy a note.
I'll sign half an autograph, being as half of my head is in it. So
I saw that, and not only did I do like the Leo DiCaprio, point at the screen and sit up, I went running to the front of the television. I'm like, that was me,
Wait,
that
so
was
you-
me, that was
so
me.
you should. You should. It was amazing, and it's a great way to remember it. So, but talking of remembering,
Yes,
we need to bring out the bucket and mop and go and clean up Isle Canada, because there are a number of things we missed. First of all, Brian mentioned last week how he was horrendous with names.
Yes.
And he was able to give a shout out to the son of somebody he met on the plane.
Harry.
The son was called Harry.
Yes.
He had no idea who the person was he'd been speaking to name-wise. So we can now give the proper shout out, Brian.
Rahul, who reached out to us on Twitter and said he listened. Rahul, sorry. Thank you for listening. Dad of Harry. Yeah, that was awesome. And then so many of you on the pod, on socials and on Discord, commented that you really enjoyed last week's episode. I just want to say thank you. That means a lot. And Michael, your notes were great. He said your Canada trips are always my favorite episode. Lee and Rebecca made comments on the Discord, and Rebecca on Twitter, and a few other folks on the Discord as well. I know I'm missing people.
I was to say we had the same on Threads. We kind of had Underground Circuit who we saw. We had Terry from the Coffee Corner, Adam from Fanamp. Again, I'm gonna forget ones. I think Ben who came on the pod, and more. Just everybody was just seemed genuinely happy for us. And the thing that I was really hoping was that it just came across as two giddy teenagers that were so excited to have done what they did last week and didn't come across as, oh, aren't we great? We were in the Cadillac garage. So I'm just happy it came across as just a genuine childlike excitement that both of us just went through. It was just such a phenomenal experience. So, and the whole weekend as well, to be fair. So
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So two notes as we go kind of clean up a few things that we want to highlight. One more time, thank you to Paul.
Yes.
For the Friday afternoon in the garage. That was a great hookup.
Garage.
Thank you. And then hanging out with us was fun too. That was more just buddies hanging out. So I'm happy he could make the time. And then even if we hadn't have had the Cadillac connection on Friday, I still had an amazing weekend. Like that,
yes.
Just being there and I know I said this, but I'm going to repeat it. When we sat down Friday for FP1, I had a beer in my hand. I threw my backpack under my chair, and they were starting to fire up the cars in the garages. And as they were doing that, I looked at Rob, and it had been a long week, many weeks of travel at work. What doesn't matter? When I sat down and my body was like, I can now rest. And I'm at my happy place. And I enjoyed my chair and watching the cars go. And I looked at Rob. I go, this is perfect. There's nowhere I'd rather be right now. Yeah. And that would have stood every day that weekend. Even on Sunday when I was freezing my off and, in the rain, didn't bother me. I was happy to be there. It was perfect. There was nowhere I'd rather have been. And so anyway, as we hit a couple things we missed, I just, I really enjoyed the weekend, and I'm happy we did it, and I'm going to start saving up money for next year's version.
Yeah, agree. Now, we have to fact check something we said last week. We said two of the biggest cheers went up for when Kimi ever did an overtake and when Lewis overtook Max, because they were the crowd favourites. No. Those two stand on podium step 3 and podium step 2 for biggest cheers for best moment. Best moment was for a marshal that dived headfirst through the entry hatch to the track. That was just phenomenal. I don't know how we forgot diving marshal. I assume he made it onto the TV broadcast because we saw it on the YouTube highlights we watched later.
I'm actually thinking that the broadcast we see is the TV broadcast with
I think it might be
track TV voices over it.
Yes, the same way I've now realised online, a lot of people are moaning about the TV direction being poor. I'm guessing they saw the same thing.
No one saw the Oscar running into Albon, and so until laps later, and we didn't know. So I'm assuming it could be the same, but who knows? Regardless, the diving marshal. So it was during a point where I was watching the big screen because the cars had passed and there wasn't anyone on the start-finish straight, and so I look up to the screen and I see the marshal, and the angle that we had, I'm assuming everyone did, was of cars coming with down the track, and the marshal's out there, and I think I elbow Rob. I go, uh-oh. And the marshal
was it VSC at this point, wasn't it? But they still looked like they were coming quickly.
I would assume it'd have to be VSC to have a
have to be for a marshal on track.
I would hope. If not, if it was just yellows, I can't remember. But regardless, the running style of this marshal was not good. It was not Usain Bolt. It was the opposite of Usain Bolt, because they were like 5-inch shuffles of the feet every time. Like, oh, he's not going to get out of the way. And then he starts getting near the, as you say, the little hatch. And Rob and I have gone through those hatches. They're not real big. And so he takes the carbon fiber he picked up and throws it through the hatch. First of all, good job there, getting that off the track and through the hatch. If he'd missed and hit the fence and it came back, it would have been real bad. Second of all, he then realizes there's cars coming. I have to expedite this departure. And he goes head first. I mean, that guy deserves an award or something. Like
I'd
when
love to see the film from the other side.
me
Because
too.
all he did in my head is what I would have called as a kid jumping onto my bed. He did a Superman. Just
I think he put one hand on the thing so he didn't go fully through. But yeah, when Grosjean was in that horrible crash in 2020, and the marshal was right there with a fire extinguisher, was one of the first people and went running in to help. He got a commendation. I feel like this marshal deserves one too. Maybe not saving a driver's life, but it was a highlight of that. And I can't believe we forgot to talk about that.
no, I know, I know. Something else we didn't give enough attention to was our smorgasbord of Uber drivers that we had. Shout out to Uber drivers. You made our life better by getting us to and from the metro, but some of you had your own unique characteristics. The one of the first guys that picked us up was following his GPS religiously, driving towards a road that said Rue Ferme, which I'm not multilingual, but I knew that meant that the road was closed.
Well,
As did all the dug up road behind it, as did all the big massive machinery, as did the way that you couldn't possibly drive down that road suggest this road was closed. And he drove up to it, almost put his nose past the road closed sign, and then sat there. Me and Brian are going, what's going on? Is he going to like try to Smokey and the Bandit his way or Knight Rider his way down this road? Like, what is happening here?
we would have had to have launched off the piles of dirt that had been in the middle of the road to clear the bulldozers and other things that were on the road. And he just kept staring at the GPS and then at the road. I'm like, it doesn't matter what the GPS says. Real life, IRL, broken, closed. Got to do something else. And then he decides, well, what we're going to do is back into active traffic. I'm like, it's always a good move. Anytime you have the opportunity after a mistake to reverse into an active roadway that's busy, you should take it. That's a good idea. I almost got out to stop traffic. I'm like, can I get out? And I'll put my hand out and then I'll get back in because otherwise someone's getting hurt here. But we somehow made it.
And we had the guy, really nice guy, but really didn't speak much English. But the one thing we did work out was that he was an Arsenal fan. So we kind of did the sports thing where we kind of communicate through faces and fist pumping and that kind of stuff. Brian tried to tell him a story.
Oh, boy.
Went on for a while. I don't even remember what your story was, but it had nothing to do with weather. So Brian is asking him this question. He's trying to throw some shade on me for something I'd done wrong. Finishes his story off, and the guy just goes, "It's warm in summer, cold in winter." I was like, "Okay, Brian, do not try to talk again because this is all going wrong." But he was a really nice guy, really sweet guy, dropped us right off at the metro. Unlike the final guy that we will call out, who was an Uber driver that really probably the last thing in life that he wanted to be was an Uber driver. He didn't like cars. He didn't like to softly brake. He liked to stamp on that pedal like he hated it. Didn't really like other road users.
Oh, the one who
Didn't seem
took
to
us
like
to the
road
keg
system.
on Sunday night. Yes.
The guy that kind of just thought that just needed to get everywhere yesterday and just hated, oh, why do I have to follow road signs? Why do I need to like stop at stop signs? This guy like almost emergency stopped 5 meters after every stop sign we got to. I'm like kind of nudging Brian going, well, it was a really nice experience if this is the last thing we ever do.
I wish. Then there were some cyclists, and his disdain for the cyclist was fantastic. I thought we were going to bump three of them. I'm like, oh,
Well, was that the same guy that crossed in front of when the pedestrians crossed on the pedestrian crossing and he went to
No.
go
Oh,
through and then
it
he
was.
stopped and like waved them across and the guy went, oh, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, I know this is my right of way. It's like, anyway, that was funny. Then you have to tell this one, Brian.
Well, I'm telling about myself. So on Sunday morning, we got there bright and early, and we have a picture. I went running up into the stands because there were two empty areas, and Rob took a picture of me sitting by myself, and I loved it. But my wife needed some assistance with something, and so my phone rings. And she knew that I was pretty busy, and so texting was the preferred method. And I answer right away. I had my watch on, so I would have answered. I pick up, and I can't hear a thing because it's so loud. The music's going, and the cars are starting to get fired up. And so I hang up, and I'm trying to remember exactly what I said. But as I'm walking out, we're basically alone in our area, and the security guard, we'd been kind of talking to him a little bit or said hi to him. So I thought I'd built a little bit of a rapport. And as I walk out, I'm holding my phone, and I said something like, "Can you get all the music to stop so I can take a call real quick?"
You pointed at the speaker and said,
Yeah.
"Could you turn this down? It's a little hard to hear my phone call."
Yeah. To which he didn't find that funny or hear me or care in the least. And his his I don't give a crap face was so good. It was just
So
strong.
good. And then what you didn't see, because you realized your joke had failed, so you got the hell out of there as
Right.
quickly as you could. He looked at me,
Right.
and we just connected. We didn't say a word, but it was like that sort of little nod and
Yeah.
smile of like, what the hell was that? And then I just kind of did the shrug, and he laughed. So
The best part
yeah.
is I got a picture of him later making a sort of similar face, not quite as much of what
It's
the hell
almost
face.
meme worthy. We could use for that.
I
It's
mean,
like-
and then you said something over WhatsApp that wasn't all that funny, and I sent back the picture of the guy, and you didn't know it was going to come, and that was perfect.
that's very true. That's very true.
One thing
we also,
okay.
yeah, go on.
I would say one thing I did notice that did work was we were watching Valtteri come back from the anthem, and we saw him go by in the scooter, and I pointed to the neighbors to our right. I said, "Hey, there's Valtteri," and I knew Rob had already clocked him, so we're watching him scooter down the pit lane, and all of a sudden, I see Alonso on his scooter, kind of like bending down to get speed, and I nudge Rob again.
Slipstreaming.
Yeah, I nudged Rob again. Basically all weekend. I just kept using my left elbow to punch Rob about stuff, and I go Alonso, and you were like, I see it, and so we're watching, and Alonso catches up to Valtteri, and then passes him and turns around, and the two of them start laughing, and they're in like a little scooter race back to their garages.
I think in
garages.
NASCAR terms, Alonso drafted Valtteri for a while and then kind of came alongside him. That was just so cool. What was also quite cool is a good friend of mine, Kim. I'll give him the full shout out. Kim Gully, I see you. I knew he was going to be at the race. We didn't mention it last week because I didn't want to lump him in with Paddock Club rankers, but that's essentially what he was. He was on a freebie. He was on a freebie, and I knew he was going to be there. And he said, "Hey, I'm up above McLaren. Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Grandstand 1." And then I could see him. So I texted him, I think I can see you leaning over the railing. So he calls me, we speak, I wave, and he waves, and I thought that was pretty much it. A little while later, go to Brian, I think that's my buddy doing a grid walk for F2. Sure as hell, I've got a picture of him through the fence of him doing a grid walk. So I call him. I'm like, what the hell's this? And he goes, yeah, I'm famous now. And he's laughing and joking. And then we gave each other, as we hung up, the universal sign that two grown, mature adults do to each other, which is we basically flipped each other the bird. Actually, he double birded me. And I didn't realize that maybe my conversation was audible to the people around me, and everyone could see that I was talking to this guy on the grid. So as the double bird came back my way, and I flipped it back to him, there's all this laughter around me. I was like, oh, people must have known what was going on here.
Well, it was so yes, you were chatting to him, and it was everyone around us could hear, and it was hilarious because really you kind of gave him a single bird, like at the end.
Yes.
It was like the goodbye kiss. You're like, all right, buddy, we're out of here for the night. Oh, I just did it on the YouTubes. And so you gave him a single, and it was to the side, so it's cropped. Hopefully none of it caught. And you gave him one, and he kind of turned after that and started to walk away, Kim did. And then he realized, he goes, oh, I see what Rob did. He said goodbye. And so he comes back around and does a double salute to you from the grid. So everybody in our section who was watching you talk to him and you're waving and whatever, they're like, oh, that guy's got a buddy on the grid. And then they see him, because they probably didn't all see yours because it was kind of in front of you. So he turns back around and like it was an after the fact double bird salute, which was chef's kiss, because the whole grandstand area loved it. They went up in arms. It was great. They loved it.
One of the things that wasn't almost my crowning glory, and I'm so glad it didn't happen, because we still dine out on the fact that Brian punched a Ferrari mechanic in the face by accident. Accidentally, the first time we were in the grid a couple of years.
I told him, if you let him build
ago.
a Luce like that, I'm going to do this again.
So as I'm making my way back through to go and find Brian in Cadillac last week, I'm kind of on my phone just texting people, going, oh God, I can't believe where I am. And I almost trip on this cable and I right myself and kind of fall to the right a little bit and stumble. But thankfully, I caught it. And I kind of stop and I look. Haran Chanduk gave me a look because he was in a live Skypad broadcast. And it wasn't a big look. And of course, nobody on TV would ever see it because he does it with his back to camera and he's kind of doing the Skypad and all this kind of thing. And he kind of looked with kind of these eyes slightly widened of, this guy's about to fall into shot here and take the Skypad down. So thankfully, I avoided that one.
That is great. That is so good. I wish I had been there to see that. That would have been perfect.
You would have pushed me.
I probably would have. And one thing we did not do last week in our blind excitement is King of the Pits in the pits. We didn't, and we count those, so we track it.
I
It's
know,
like
so
a
we track
scientific
it, so we're
thing.
going to have to, yeah, to work out who is our. When we get to the end of season, for anyone who's not listened to us before, we have our scientific overall season award of who have we crowned season king of the pits and who is relegated to the pits. So we have to play catch up, otherwise our whole scientific thing will be wrong.
So let's do King of the Pits. This would require me remembering anything that happened, which was hard enough live. Oh, do you want to go first or shall I?
You went first last time on King because
Okay.
you picked Kimmy, and then I just and said all the things I wanted to say, so I just had to agree. I think it could have been the other way around. Who knows? But anyway, I'm going to say for my King of the Pits, it has to be. I want to say Kimmy again, but I might not get a chance this season, so I'm going to say Lewis.
Agreed. LH. Slow down, LH. I would agree. It was LH. I watched some of the interviews after we'd recorded. I watched some of the post race interviews of the drivers, and he said this was the best he'd felt in his time at Ferrari, and that alone for a 7-time world champion to have that finally feel like something's going right, like we're on the right track. Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah, agree. I just, Kimmy, brilliant to have won his
Yeah.
fourth race in a row, but I'm just going to downgrade it a little bit because they have the best car. But watching Ferrari had not been that great, and then he fell at 5 seconds back from Max, and I thought the battle was over. But then to just deliver that grandstand finish of those two going head to head, I'd almost want to give them both the King of the Pits for giving us that kind of 45 or 40 lap, whatever it was, kind of chase down. So, do you want to fire up the pits?
You're the pits.
Oh, this one is easy. McLaren's strategy.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to just say McLaren because when we total it at the end, I'm just calling it McLaren for the record. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Do you want to say why?
Oh, should I explain?
Well, maybe for ladies and gentlemen that didn't listen last week and didn't see the race, this would be a bit of a curveball one for you to throw McLaren, the current champions, into your pits.
So, in the driver interviews I described at the end of the race that I just saw, hadn't seen before we recorded, Max even talked about the McLaren strategic mistake. Starting on inters from the front of the grid seemed like a really bad idea. And I recognize the rationale, right? A, you're banking on a safety car because it's slippery and most people are on slicks. B, you're hoping that it rains more or that it's wet enough where the inters are needed. Or C, you're going to make a massive blunder and cost yourself many positions from the front of the grid. And it turned out the answer was C all day. And yeah, and I forgot the gentleman's name who does the strategy, but regardless, just we'll call it McLaren strategy. I thought that was a disaster. I mean, sorry, one
Okay.
more thing. I took a picture of the Audi in front of us that was in grid box 11. I can't remember if it was Gabby or Hulk. I think they both were because one was 11-13. And when they took their blankets off and they had green striped tires, I once again elbowed you furiously. I go, they're on inters. What are they doing? Why are they on inters? And we laughed and laughed. What a mistake. And we had no idea that McLaren had done the same thing 10 positions higher up.
So, honourable mention, or maybe it's dishonourable for the pits, goes to Lance Stroll for his ridiculous attempt to speak French with one word, which I could have managed, and not address his home fans in French. But I don't really remember much about the rest of the race, really, in terms of a bad way, because of the great way we were spoilt by the Kimi versus George and Lewis versus Max. So for the first time in King of the Pits history, at least this season, I may have to fact check last season, we have a complete agreement across the board. We've both named Lewis as the king, and we've both named McLaren as the pits, because what the heck were those inters all about?
I don't know. It's almost like Randy Singh, I think is his name. It's almost like he didn't see Haas do this 2 years ago at Canada, and it cost him. But it's worth a gamble. But that's for Haas, not for
Yes.
the world champions.
Can you imagine if Mercedes had done that? Wow,
No.
we saw Audi were doing it and Cadillac, so we thought, yeah, let's join them on the gamble. No,
I
you've
mean,
got different expectations for you guys.
totally,
So yeah,
totally.
that's the first time we've had a couple of Kings agreements, but we don't tend to agree on the pits. I normally tend to go a little bit heavy on giving Pirelli criticism, and you tend to, yeah. Anyway, right. Looking forwards now. That's enough of Canada. We've done a full episode and a clean up on Isle Canada. So it's time to look forward, which is to Monaco next week, the crown jewel of F1 in some circles. Run since 1929, so before F1 was a thing. 78 laps, so this is a big old one because it's about 3 meters long, so we go around it loads of times. Well, in actual fact, it's 2.075, 074 miles with 19 corners. And we say this every time. It's known as a procession. It's known for safety cars. It's known for fantastic Saturday qualifying, and it's known for money, yachts, celebrities, opulence, and it divides the F1 community almost like Albon and Sainz trying to cut vegetables in half. This kind of cuts the F1 world in half as to whether the people love it and think it's romantic and it deserves to keep on the grid because it's that something slightly different, or whether F1 has outgrown it and it should be kicked into touch.
I um I think I'm gonna get this wrong, but I'm gonna give it a shot. It's never stopped me before on the pod. Was it Jag who did the Ocean's 11 or 12 tie-in where they put the diamonds on the front of the car and one went missing, a gentle crash into the hairpin, I think it was, and the diamond went missing. I think it was Jag. But the reason this came up is we saw that they're doing a prequel to Oceans, and it's going to be in like the 60s or 70s, and it'll be at Monaco. So is that right? Did I get the whole circle
Yeah,
correct there?
it's Jaguar 2004.
Oh
They put
04.
a diamond on the front and it went missing. Or did it? Was it part of the PR stunt? Or did it? So
Anyway, yeah.
it's one of those races that every driver that gets interviewed wants to win there. It's part of a triple crown, which includes Indy 500 and Le Mans 24. Graham Hill is the only triple crown winner. Alonso is an active driver that has won two of the three. Which one? So Alonso hasn't done Indy 500, hasn't won Indy 500 yet, right?
I guess so.
I think because he tried a couple of times to do Indy because I think he wanted the triple crown and he's never gone back and got it. So yeah, drivers love it. They think it's kind of like the ultimate test of accuracy because it is not a forgiving place. You do not get a runoff area. You do
No.
not get gravel or grass or wide corners. You get narrow streets with Armco barriers firmly wedged on both sides, and you have to basically get a slither of post-it note between your wheel and the barrier for the optimum line, and give it any more, you can have a slow lap. Go too close, game over.
Right.
So
But that also means because of those Armco barriers on both sides, and there's no runoff, and there's a couple corners have a little runoff area, but very minimal. Because of that, and the size of the cars, there's not a lot of room to pass. And you can't kind of go over, worry about track limits or kind of go over the edge. You have to be within the barriers. And the size of the cars, it's almost hard to like drive side by side in some of the areas, let alone create a pass under racing conditions. So yes, you already mentioned the procession, and last year was my biggest rant was the 2 pit stop rule,
well, I
which
was just yeah.
was a disaster, right? So we had the mandatory 2 pit stops. Trying to promote better racing, they figured, with the increase in number of pit stops, we would see, teams using many tires, different compounds, trying to use different strategies, people coming out at different times. And what ended up happening is people drove slowly on purpose to build gaps for teammates and hold people up because you still can't pass. And so
Yeah.
it was Williams who came up with it first, and other teams, George, I think, went off coming out of the tunnel.
You're jumping all ahead now to the race review because we haven't even covered quali yet. But you do you, Brian. It's all good. Let's not do it like in the order that are in the notes. It's you freestyle it.
I didn't scroll down. And so anyway, it made me very angry. And as I said,
I know it did.
Saturday is my favorite, probably my favorite Saturday of the calendar is the quali. And we can talk about that now because I'm back up to the right part of the notes. But in my mind, like I tune in Saturday and like that's my weekend. I'll watch on Sunday, but I don't expect anything.
So quali last year we had points of note were that George's battery failed in the tunnel, which was quite dangerous, really. He brought out a red flag, and he got knocked out in Q2. But the big height was Lando set the fastest ever recorded lap at the Monaco Grand Prix to put it on pole with a 109.954. Like, absolutely dynamite lap. And like Brian said, the spectacle of watching them throw it around to get the maximum performance out of a lap is superb. I'm really hoping that if we'd have seen this race before they tweaked the regs and it was you couldn't drive it on the limit, I was worried that Saturday at Monaco might be diluted a little bit.
Good point.
However, with the little tweaks they
Good
did
point.
and seeing it firsthand in Canada, it didn't feel. Canada felt just like they were throwing it around on the ragged edge. When George put that pole lap in right at the end, it was like he was throwing it around that track. So I'm hoping that Saturday in Monaco hasn't been touched now. So yeah, the race last year, like you just ruined. I mean, like you covered, was brutal. We had one overtake in the entire race, and that wasn't in the top 10. One overtake.
I mean, that's crazy. And I mean,
And like you said, Williams did the block tactics. They realized it was better to slow down and let the car in front build up a pit stop, come in, do the pit stop, and then roll reverse. Like you already said, George got so frustrated with this, he actively cut a corner to overtake somebody because it was worth his while to take the 10-second penalty than to just sit there for the rest of the race. It was brutal, doesn't even do it justice.
And like, I don't like ginned up enthusiasm, excitement, racing, spectacle. So not only did we not get anything that made the racing better, we got the opposite. We got people actively going slowly. That is not how racing is supposed to work. Like, I came away from Canada with a renewed appreciation, say it wasn't new, it was refreshed, for how crazy all of these drivers are. In F1, F2, and Academy, these people are lunatics, and I'm here for it. Because all of them, in every one of the series, when you're on the straight, they're standing on the gas pedal as hard as they can to go as fast as they can, and often they are a foot behind the car in front of them at 180 miles an hour. And I don't like tailgating people on the expressway at 80. They're going so fast where their nose is hitting the gearbox of the car in front of them almost, and they're like wishing they had more. Give me more. I want more power. And every one of those categories, all of those drivers, the men and women, are lunatics because they go as fast as they can at every minute until they go to Monaco, and then they go, well, I'm going to slow down a little and give us some space. No!
So my little tiny bit of optimism that I hinted to earlier on, and we'll see
Please
how
explain
far
where
the
this is
mark I am
coming
here,
from.
is that the one thing that really killed Monaco as coupled with the size of the cars was DRS, because DRS then became the only way that you could overtake in F1 for a while, and that's why they kind of tried to get rid of it. And the DRS in Monaco just didn't work. It just did not work. You never generated the place where you could overtake. So what I'm hopeful of, we've seen under these regs with the battery deployment that people are deploying batteries in different parts of the circuits to try to get overtakes done in places we don't normally see in the DRS era, which opens up 3 or 4 areas in Monaco that would never have been available in a DRS era. So I'm thinking at the top of the casino before we head down to the hairpin in front of the hotel. Back in the day, you used to see overtakes coming down on that lumpy, bumpy street.
Right.
In DRS, you didn't because it was just pointless. You followed everybody. That was a whole straight wasted because you just followed. Different lines around the hairpin and trying to get the exit into the tunnel. You followed because you had a DRS zone coming up, I think. So you would just remain stationed there and hope. So if you didn't get anything done in the DRS, that was game over. And then last year you were allowed to, well, not allowed, but they worked out you could back people up and even worse. So I am kind of thinking, with battery deployment now, there's no risk this time either of if you use the battery and overtake that someone gets you straight back on the next straight, because that ain't happening in Monaco. If you get an overtake done because of some creative way of deploying, chances of the person behind you taking that straight back is pretty minimal. So I'm going in with a little ounce of optimism that Saturday will now deliver just like it always has because they've tweaked it and they haven't nerfed quali, and that I'll go on record. I will 100% say that we see more than the one overtake from last year.
Come on. Thank you for making a bet that's going to pay off no matter what. I appreciate your optimism. I don't know if I have it. And
No,
I'm
that's fair.
normally an
That's fair.
optimistic person. I'm normally like excited and let me see it. I'm still there's a little bit of me that died a year ago when they did the two-stop strategy. A little bit of my race fandom that said, well, they attempted it, but it was so bad in execution.
So the only way is up.
Okay, then there we go.
There we go. Right, we're running short on time, so let's get through previous winners and then lock in our casino game stuff. Oh, by the way, Lando won it last year because he was started at the front and nobody overtook anybody. So yeah, Lando, Charles, Oscar. There we go. Right, previous winners. Ayrton Senna leads the way with 6. Graham Hill and Michael Schumacher have 5. Alan Prost has 4. Sterling Moss, Jackie Stewart, Nico Rosberg, and a certain Lewis F. Hamilton have 3. So there's our first current driver in the list. And there are Fangio, I'll pick a couple louder, Coulthard, a Mr. Alonso, a Mr. Verstappen, a Vettel, and a Webber all on 2. So people want to win this, and it's got a very storied past. Constructors, McLaren miles clear on 16 to Ferrari's 11, Mercedes 8, Lotus and Red Bull 7, and then blah, 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 down for forever. So I do love the Monaco Grand Prix as an event. I am with Brian that Saturday is better than Sunday, but I'm going to take that small bit of optimism. And while I'm having that small bit of optimism, I'm also going to be looking out for how our casino games play out. So, again, for new listeners that we might have cajoled into listening from Canada, this will be your first time understanding how we pick it. So Brian's going to spin our roulette table and give us a number from 1 to 22.
I'm just going to spin the wheel. The table stays the same.
Well, whatever. And that will give us a number. We will both predict which driver will finish in that position, and then we will both pick 2 drivers to make our blackjack hand. We use the points they score in the actual race to add together and try to hit 21 without going bust. I looked at last week. I'm first on roulette picking. You're first on blackjack picking because I went large on Max and Lewis last week.
33 points, I remember. All right, let's spin the table, as Rob would say. Ooh, high up the grid. We rarely get the high up the grid ones. Fourth position. Fourth.
Okay, so I'm going to say that Mercedes will probably. The safety cars. I can't warrant who's going to crash and ruin everything. So, assuming the Mercedes boys lock out 1 and 2, assuming then it's the Ferrari McLarens that are the next best, that would definitely make it Lewis Norris that comes in fourth.
I'm going to need a single driver.
Lewis. I'm going Lewis in fourth.
All right. Based on nothing other than thinking McLaren bounces back, I'm going to go with Oscar in fourth.
Oscar. Okay, right. Which 2 drivers would you like in your hand for blackjack?
Oh boy.
Take both the Mercedes drivers. Just do it.
Right. Like we talked about, although what is it's 18 for second place?
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to say I'm going to undo what I was about to do. I just don't have enough confidence in Kimi at Monaco winning a 5th in a row. Oh, man. Okay, I am going to say Lando and Valtteri.
So in other words, I'm sorry, Valtteri, but you just want the Lando points and hopes he doesn't win.
Lando and Valtteri. Anytime I can represent VB, you know I'm going to do it.
I can't believe you've done that. That's such an absolute cop-out. Whereas I actually have some conviction, and I'm going to go for Oscar and Checo.
You just did the same thing I did.
I liked it.
Same teams, too.
It plays against the... Well, exactly. I just thought I would pick the other side of the coin and see what happens.
Ooh, I like it. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out. Rob, anything else this week for you?
Let's wrap that one up and call it a week.
Everybody, thanks so much for listening. We'll be back in 1 week's time with a 1-day delayed recap of the Monaco Grand Prix. Be well, everyone.